Mm-hmm.
Right, I think we are back, everybody. Just a moment. I think it is, yeah. It's showing up live on YT Studio. It seems like the issues have hopefully gone away, fingers crossed. We are back. My name is Dan, of course, and I'm with Austin. I know we've had all that ramble, but I guess we should just get straight into qualifying. You can see it on your screens at the moment. It's been a bit of a disaster so far this stream, but Austin, what have we seen so far in qualifying?
So far we've seen Dario Yamulo and Dylan Warren posting 1 minute 12.7s, very, very strong lap times early on here, and we've seen plenty of invalidations already. Only 8 drivers have even set a lap time, and I mean, if we're looking at Bryn's time, he must have made some kind of different mistake. Not an invalidation, but something went clearly wrong there. 1 minute 20.5, not his pace usually. So certainly for a lot of drivers in the second half of this qualifying, as we only have 9 minutes left, there's a lot yet to do. And I look at Felipe Sosa, he's invalidated. So that's another driver adding his name to the list. Yari is starting a lap. He's heading into turn 1 now. And so far, so good. But yeah, we see this so many times around here. You just dip the third or even the fourth wheel just a little bit too far off track beyond the white line, and that is that for your lap. It won't count, and you're going to have to try again.
Yeah, it's really easy to do around this circuit, and I think the result of the actual race itself could come down to penalties. But as you said, Shizu Yari is on a lap at the moment. He's just coming through probably the most easy place to invalidate a lap. But he seemingly has got through. HX4K just finished up on a run. He's gone to the top of the timing sheets as Yari 54.2 through the second sector split. Now into the stadium section. We're right on board with the Dutchman coming through here, the slowest part of the circuit, and now through the final couple of corners to open up the steering foot flat to the floor to take the shortest run to the line. It's going to be 4th position for Yari. He's ahead of his teammate, and he's also ahead of some guys like Liam Parnell, Pablo Jokla. These guys scored strong pace points last week. Do you think this maybe could be a bit of a sign, I suppose, for how Yari's race is going to go?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, last time at 9th place. This time he qualifies P4 so far. Obviously, a lot of drivers still left to set some lap times here. But certainly a good start. And he might just improve on his performance from the first race.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, he was just about in the points in USA. Felipe has just gone to P2, the front row of the grid, setting the exact same lap time as Dario Yamu. I'm just going to call him Dario because I cannot get the name right. I'll have to ask him if there's an easier way to pronounce it. But on the gap to the leader, he's just about 1,000th quicker. So I think that is a very minute gap between the pair of them. But only 6 minutes left in this qualifying because, of course, we've had our incidents. So it's not really been broadcasted on the stream all that much. Trying to find someone who's furthest up on a run. I guess we could follow along with VSR Andy. He took pretty decent position, all things considered. He was on a bad strategy as well, so he did pretty well last time out, and he's just coming through the second sector now.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm looking at Antoine Zalewski here as well, and he is flying right now. Let's see what the second sector split says. It comes across 54.3. If we compare that to HX4K right now, 54.3, that is about a 1/10.5 slower than HX4K. So this might be good enough for roughly P5, I think, right now. Maybe he gets a good final sector. No, he doesn't. It is exactly P5 and it is exactly a 1/10.5. So that's a very good prediction. I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of that one. Did not expect that, but immediately he falls down to P6 as Liam Parnell also finishes a lap and just goes P5 ahead of Antoine.
Yeah, as SRT Connor, that is lefted. He's not been able to finish up that lap. He's just restarted on a run, but I think there might be a driver further up on a run at the moment. I think the furthest driver up on a lap is I think he's German actually, of Shizu Julian. Well, I'm just not going to make assumptions like this. but I think I am right on that one.
He is German.
Alright, very nice. He's coming through the S's section here. Very tricky. And he just got a little bit of understeer, I think, through that first part of the corner, and unfortunately invalidated on his run. So I guess that'll lead us to go back on board with SRT Connor, but he's invalidated on his lap, and this is a common theme around a circuit like this. A lot of invalidations.
Dario is on a run right now, 54-0. This might be provisional pole position right here. Through the stadium section he goes. Not invalid yet, and I don't think he will in these final couple of corners here. Stadium section navigates it nicely, gets a little bit of slipstream maybe to the line. Nope, not so much. VSI, and he goes out of the way into the pit lane. Short run to the line, and it is a 1 minute 12.6. Lost a 10th in the final sector compared to HX4K, or compared to his own previous time, actually. But still good enough. Just under a 10th faster than the Red Bull driver, and it is provisional pole position with 4 minutes and 10 seconds left to go.
I think he's got to be pretty proud of that lap, and if he wants to, he could probably go back into the pits and maybe fit another set of the tyres to go one more. I don't believe I'm seeing this, but Connor's actually going for a third lap, so I'm hoping at least he can make this one valid on this time by. He invalidated his two previous attempts. We'll see him cross through the first sector split, 27.8. I'm not too sure what that is relative to the other drivers, but we move on up to the highest point of the circuit, turn 6 and turn 7. It really is sort of just one corner, but they do class it as two, as it is two apexes. But through to the beginning of the S's section comes Connor. If he's been invalidating his laps, will have trouble through here, but I think on board with the Alfa Romeo, he's got that nice and tidily. He wasn't here last week, but I'll see him cross the sector split. It's 54.7. That's not too great in comparison to some of the drivers in front of him. It might not be enough to see himself into a high-paying position on the grid, but we'll see him through the final sector now under the DHL arm code to open up the steering and take the shortest run to the line to finish up on that lap. Yeah, so 13.5 of really the representative times. That's the slowest of them all.
Yeah, the slowest are the ones that are sort of competitive right now. Obviously, Bryn and Ruben Vallejo here. Not really with the greatest of times, 1 minute 20 and 1 minute 22. Not exactly the comparative lap times and competitive lap times either, as now we see a lot of cars heading onto the track and going for their final runs. It's going to get pretty hectic rather shortly here on track with only 2.5 minutes. And right now we still have 6 cars in the pit lane. That will rapidly decrease as Felipe Sosa is one of the first ones to start a lap. I don't think he is the first one. Let me just quickly check to make sure. Bryn is right behind him.
He's got Barry in front of him.
Started a lap. Barry started before him. Yeah, you're right. But on the medium, surprisingly. So maybe the calculation here is he wants to do one stop, wants to start on the medium tire. Maybe he can get in the top 10, or if not, he will just go for P11 and has a free tire choice then once we get to the race.
Yeah, of course, the he's invalidated, unfortunately, on that run, but Connor retiring in the pit lane, so he's not going to be putting in a lap that'll put him into the top 10. We'll watch Philippe then coming through the second sector at the moment, just coming out of the S's. He's approaching Barry at the moment. He's probably going to go for another run, but Philippe is quicker on his lap at the moment. There's a big slide coming through there on the accelerator. Luckily, he was able to save it and also crucially keep the car running through now the final sector of the circuit. He's got his teammate right behind. Actually, there's a couple more drivers in between himself and his teammate, but he comes up to the line. So only a little bit slower than Dario, but it is still a pretty strong time from Philippe there.
Yeah, certainly P2. Fantastic lap from him. A little bit of a slide then. I think that ultimately cost him that instability through the final sector. I'm trying to find who is the next person to come across the line. I think that's Liam Parnell, actually. Yeah, he's a 10th up, so he might improve beyond Dylan Warren, and he just about does by 1,000th of a second. Gets that position. Nicolas Mateo is on a run right now. Ruben Vallejo just started a lap as well. Do we have someone come across the line? I don't see it really. Kersey, maybe. He just came across the line. Dylan Warren, yeah, but no improvement. But this might have been an outlap. I'm not sure. Or invalidated. either way. It's very hectic right now. Antoine de Zalewski in P6, but he's a quarter of a second up. This might be provisional pole position if he doesn't slide here and doesn't get it wrong in the final sector, and he does not, and he takes provisional pole position there with a 1 minute 12.5.
It's not over though. Barry, unfortunately, not been able to put in a lap because the clock has struck 0. He's not going to be able to start one at all as a Red Bull just crossed the line. That was HX4K. There's a Mercedes car coming through the final sector. That's either Philippe or it is Bryn. And it was actually Bryn going into P13. A Renault car now in the final sector. It's going to be Jari Fitz. Is he pushing on a lap? He sure as hell is. He's got a AlphaTauri car of Ruben Vallejo just up behind him now. Through the final corner comes Jari to cross the line. He's going to go into P5. What about Ruben Vallejo? He was down in Sector 2. He's gone into 15th position and not represented the time of his pace. A couple more cars about to finish up on a run. Kersey pulling into the pit lane. They've got J. Cole actually finishing up on that. For some reason, I'm trying to spectate Kevin Magnussen. Not smart from me there. Dario not able to put in a lap. But here is J. Cole, going to be the next driver to put in a run. And we'll see him coming up to the line. He hasn't put in a lap so far. Goes 15th. Philippe pulling into the pit lane. And I think that might be the end of qualifying.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Antoine de Zalewski gets himself that pole position. Very, very good result for him. I'm pretty sure he's going to be happy with that. And I'm pretty sure the Haas team is going to be happy with that as well. After Jake Benham first time around, this time it is Antoine de Zalewski getting the second pole position in the second race of the season for the Haas team. So in terms of the constructors standings, right now they are third as Antoine had a horrible race last time around. But starting from the top spot, this should go a lot better for him.
Just quickly, I've actually had to use the technical difficulties graphic for the first time because my game has crashed. So if you'd be as kind as to invite me, I've still got our voices running, so everyone still can hear us. But yeah, that was a great qualifying session. But I did notice one thing. Both of the McLaren drivers really tipped to be the main championship contenders, especially for constructors. 18th and 19th in the session.
Yeah, it's a very disappointing result there for them, and they're gonna look to get some positions back in the race. The one thing it does open up for them, though, is some kind of alternate strategy, and they can really try and risk something in the race where they just go opposite everyone else, something that we've usually seen in real F1, at least in the last sort of 10 to 15 years from the team that used to be Force India, used to be Racing Point, where they've always gone for some crazy strategies and it led to some fantastic races for them. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see the McLaren team here with both drivers go for some interesting strategy choices with Barry and Josh, and maybe make something out of nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just managed to get back into the session here, so all should be well. I'll put it back to the live scene, and hopefully everyone can see the game. It's coming up as black on the screen. There it is. It should be back, so we are getting ready for this race. I'm hoping that is the last issue that I will be having in this session. We'll get ready for the formation lap. They're just all locking in their strategies here, and we will see what tyres they've all really opted to run. Of course, starting outside the top 10, you get to choose whatever tyre you want to start on. I think it is to be expected everyone in the top 10 will be running a 2-stop strategy. I believe a soft medium, 2 soft, or a soft medium, but it is up to interpretation as to what the drivers outside want to do, and we'll see here. So everyone down from Kersey to Connor, they've all opted for the medium tyres. 2 hard runners in this race, Josh Idle and Ruben Vallejo. That leads me to believe they're going to one-stop this race.
Oh yeah, for sure. The hard tyre round here lasts around 22 laps. Add 13 for the softs, and you're at 35. We're going to have 36 laps, but you can just stretch one of them just 1 lap longer, and ultimately you will reach the 36 laps, and it's not going to be too difficult to do that. The one thing they may have looked at is that you do lose 20 seconds in the pit lane. So it's your average pit loss. It's not as low as it is, for example, in Canada, where you only lose 16.5, or even Zandvoort, where there's 14.5. It's really, really short. No, you lose a bit more here, but still, because of how slow this track is on average speed, surprisingly, you have a chance, because this race is one of the longer races on the calendar. In fact, the third longest as well, because of that average speed. And so 20 seconds don't matter as much when the race is just much longer in terms of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Not coming out with all the facts there, but we will get ready for the beginning of this race. They're all just in the third sector at the moment. Soon, Antoine's AI is going to take over and pull him into his grid slot. He's on pole position with Dario alongside him. Those two be running side by side. This is turn number 1, but really around a circuit where the run up towards the first corner is so long, you'd have to expect starting in 3rd, 4th, or even 5th position could be one of the best places, because you get that slipstream down the straightaway in towards turn number 1 and potentially take the lead early on here. But the two McLaren cars are going to be rounding off the grid. They're just pulling into their grid slots at the moment, and we are going to get ready to go racing here in Mexico. The lights are on. It is 5 red lights here, and we are underway. The predicted time strategy coming up, but it is looking like a good start from both of the leaders coming down into towards turn number 1. You can see a brilliant start for the Renault car behind, but Dario tucking into the slipstream of Antoine coming up towards the first corner now. Dario trying to look to maybe the outside line coming into the first corner. Gonna break just that little bit later, trying to get him maybe on the switchback. They're running 2 abreast. Further back down the order, Antoine leading through turn number 3. Then it's Dario in P2. HX4K in 3rd position. They're battling further back down the order. 2 Racing Points looking like they're trying to go side by side. As actually Nicolas Mateo's caught up in that one as well. On the inside goes Dylan Warren. Liam Parnell, the one to come out on top in that one. But it looks like, all things considered, it has been a very, very clean start in Mexico.
Yeah, certainly. I've been looking at the back of the grid, and I did not see one collision between drivers. Maybe something happened in the midfield as Barry immediately goes for a move here into turn 7 on Ruben Vallejo. That's 1 position already gained for Barry Bowman, but again, he has a tire advantage. Speaking of tire advantage, it is Julian on the soft, the faster tire, who's falling down the order. Bryn and Kersey both getting him, and there's a car off. What has happened there?
It looked like Yari Fitz might have gone for a spin there. Both Renault cars struggling early on. There's a car in the pit lane. It's Nicolas Mateo. Suspected wing damage for the AlphaTauri driver as well as Julian. Nicolas Mateo actually retiring. Winner from last week. He's just had enough already. He doesn't want to deal with this whatsoever. I'd have liked to see him possibly go a little bit longer in this race, but I guess that is just the way that the cookie crumbles, as J. Cole's trying to fight alongside one of the McLarens. He's fighting with Josh at the moment. He's going to hold on to that P14, I believe, as all of it is just glitching the hell out in the timing screens. But I do believe it is still Antoine leading this race from Dario, and it already looks like, as I've got no intervals on my screen, but it seems like the Haas car has been able to just stretch a nice and tidy gap, and he's been able to get away in this one.
Yeah, we can only apologize for the issues that the timing screen throws up right now. Once Julian is at the end of the first sector, we should get a proper timing with all drivers. We are on lap 2 here, by the way, not lap 3, so that just one more issue that we get here. But it should clear up rather shortly, and Julian is way down after the pit stop here as he just finishes the first sector, as Antoine is now coming across the line to start lap 3, and with the fastest lap to boot, that immediately gets beaten first by Liam Parnell, then by Felipe Sosa. Will someone else claim it? Doesn't look like it. So for now, it is Felipe Sosa who has that, but of course we expect a lot faster laps towards the end of the race on lower fuel and with new tires as well.
Yep, so the crucial thing beginning lap number 3 is that we have now got the DRS in play. They're not going to get the first taste of it until the run-up, I believe, out of, I don't know what corner it is, but out the S's in the 3rd sector. That's the first helping of DRS that these drivers are going to get, because, of course, Sector 1, both of those DRS zones are shared, actually, the detection point at the beginning in the final sector. So they are getting their first helpings, unfortunately. Julian just decides he doesn't want to go for it today. He's going to retire in the pit lane, making it 2 already on lap number 3. Not really what you would like to see, but Dario has now got the helping of the DRS. Doesn't seem like he's really close enough to make a move stick, but possibly in the coming laps he can try and fight with Antoine. Of course, you don't really want to be ahead on a circuit where the DRS is going to be so crucial, and you just probably want to stay behind your fellow racers and then just go along with them. But one driver without DRS at all is VSR Andy, and don't worry about those yellow flags. It is just Julian's car coming out the pit lane. Why it doesn't retire in the pits, not too sure, but yeah, that is just how things go. It's actually pulling off right in front of Bryn, who are on board with trying to hunt down Andreas Dormeyer. He's got a bit of a train, the Williams car, of course, filling in for, I believe, Ruben, I think, S2V, Ruben Pedreno. I can't pronounce any of these names tonight.
Pedreño.
Okay, right, yeah. I need to get a note.
One. We can go through this after stream and go through the pronunciations. They are difficult. It needs to be said. A lot of times, you have fans just ripping on commentators, whether that's in esports or in real racing, and that name's pronounced wrong. This name's pronounced wrong. You do it. You can't always get all the names perfectly right. Some of them are rather difficult, especially if you don't speak that language in particular. So it's just something that is part of the job, and no criticism whatsoever. I think is justified. It's just you got to learn it at some point, but it happens. As we get back to the action here, we see Yari in the pit lane here. That is very early. No front wing change, so this seems to be a scheduled pit stop for Yari. I think this is the undercut of undercuts here, as he's going on to the mediums that he now, I would assume, wants to take for around, I'd guess, 17, 18 laps until he goes on to softs again and to the end. So, very early pit stop here. He's in a lot of clean air, but you mentioned it, the DRS straights. We have 3 of them here. They make up, I feel like half the track is just DRS zones, and he's not going to have any of that. The question is, what's more important? Not having dirty air in front, or getting the DRS? I mean, it's really a trade-off on this track more than anywhere. So I'm not sure that Yari pulling himself out of that whole group was the right call. We'll see. Maybe it was. I mean, he's got the faster tire now, so it should help him, at least in the short run. But once everyone else pits, well, we're going to see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just going to be time that will tell whether this strategy works out. Meanwhile, we've got a bit of a fight shaping up for P9 on circuit. They both got past Kersey at around this point last lap, but now Barry Burman into ninth position here. He streams right past OMG, it's Joe, and Joe not going to have DRS the next time by, so this could leave him at the mercy of Kersey and possibly Pablo Jogler. It's just all about this run that they get out of the corner. It seems like Joe has actually been able to pull away from Kersey ever so slightly, so he might not be able to battle him coming in towards turn number 4. It's actually going to be Pablo Jogler looking up to the inside of the Alfa Romeo car. They're going to go wheel to wheel through turn number 5 now. He's going to get the door closed right in his face. He's not going to be able to make that move stick, but he's going to stick it out in P12. Just sit behind Kersey. He knows that he's faster at the moment, as he wouldn't have gone for that move if he didn't feel that he had the pace, because already it seems like Kersey is beginning to just drop back a little bit from the drivers in front of him. Back at the front, Dario, if he wanted to go for a move, he'd have gone for it by now. He's 0.5 of a second back from Antoine, and he's also used up pretty much none of his ERS, 90% for Dario, and HX4K's also used quite a bit up behind him, so it seems like he's struggling for pace in comparison to these two leaders here.
Yeah, it needs to be said with the ERS, it is hugely important around this track, because you have just such long straights where if you use the ERS, and if you can use ERS at the start of the straight, it just gives you so much power throughout the whole straight, so much more speed that you gain just more and more. As here goes Dario for a move down the inside, and he will be shoved wide here for that right-hander, but Antoine goes off the track. and keeps the position for now. But certainly the pressure from Dario on Antoine is increasing. How much longer can Zalewski withstand said pressure?
Yeah, I think that was a fair bit of defensive driving from Antoine there. He was ahead coming into the corner, so I think he had every right to take the racing line and not really give Dario the light of day in the room. But Dario is going to have another opportunity coming down in towards turn number 1. And if he doesn't make that one stick, he'll just be able to go for it in towards turn number 4. Whether these guys do come into the pit lane, that remains to be seen. Top 3 all staying out, so I think Dario might try and go for it this time by. He's opening up the DRS just a little bit down the straightaway now as they cross over. Actually, it's the start-finish line that they get the helping of DRS where they actually start the race, not where they finish. But Dario just not close enough this time by down the straightaway. If anything, HX4K is actually closer to his rival than Dario is, but he doesn't seem like he's going to be fighting too hard this time by to go for a move. What about Dylan Warren up behind? He's right up to the rear of his teammate. Doesn't seem like he is close enough. So these guys stuck in what is known as a DRS train. Very difficult to make that one work and actually make a move through there. But it is pretty common around a circuit like Mexico.
Yeah, it also is important to note, as much as the DRS obviously contributes to these DRS trains, because you want to overtake, especially around a track where you have a DRS straight this long, or even 2 DRS straights back to back, and one of them being that long, that drivers do not want to overtake anywhere else. But also, if you look at the lap counter right now, we're in lap 8. This is early. This is super early. Do not expect many overtakes this early on. Right now, the drivers want to slightly work together, as Dario is going into the pit lane, and he is being followed by HX4K and Liam Parnell as well. So we have the first 3 drivers here, apart from Yari, who pit way earlier. But now the first 3 of that leading group coming in, and not just those 3, but VSR Andy as well. He will fall down the order a little bit further. The question is, where are they going to emerge? I think all of them will be ahead of Yari except for Andy. Andy will lose that position, but the other ones should be in front, and they are. But only just. I mean, Yari is less than a second behind. No detection point here, so he will not get DRS down the back straight. But he's within a second, and out of the yeses, if he's still within a second, he will get some DRS there, and he's right on the back of this train.
Of course, his tyres are 3 laps older than the drivers around him, so he's going to struggle. 4 tyres towards the end of the stint. They're going to be pretty worn in at this moment already. He will have slightly warmer tyres, so that will give him a little bit extra grip. But once those mediums come up to temperature, he should begin to lose some pace. Doesn't seem like there's too many fights on circuit at the moment, but there is one for Josh Idawu, one of the 2 hard runners in this race, and he seems like he's doing a pretty decent job. Antoine Zalewski coming into the pit lane. It will be interesting to see where the undercut will get the drivers behind him or follow along once they actually come right past the pit box. But I believe Josh Idawu going to try go for the move here. Should be easy on Cozy. He's not even got the DRS. I don't think he'll have to use any of his overtake. As there he is. He's going to be sailing right on by. We'll watch on with, I think we have to watch with Dario, as he's just coming out of the pit box. And he's ahead of Antoine Zalewski.
Yeah, the undercut here proving very, very powerful once again. And Dario taking the net lead of the race. But we still have one more pit stop for all of these drivers that have already pitted. And as such, this is not the end. If now Antoine goes a lap earlier than Dario and pulls the undercut, all of a sudden the roles reverse again. And we are back to square one, really. We are back to lap 1, really. And don't forget the one-stop runners at the very least. That's Ruben Vallejo and Josh Idawu. We don't know what the medium starters, Barry Bowman, Bryn, Joe, Pablo Hogla, Kersey, and J. Cole have up their sleeves. They might be going for one-stops as well. They might not be. We don't know. We have to wait and see what they do. But this is going to be an interesting battle around this track, around Mexico. It has this wonderful feature where both strategies, the one-stop medium hard and the two-stop soft medium, are almost equally fast.
Yeah, absolutely. As Dylan Warren, the last of the soft runners starting on that compound of tyres, he comes out the pit lane. He'll actually be jumped by Yari Fitz, who was definitely ahead of previously before he made that undercut strategy. But he has got 5 laps fresher. He's actually right up to the back of Felipe at the moment. Felipe Sousa, here making his debut in our LPC. Of course, he wasn't here last week. I think Antoine Dezaluski is going to go for the move, coming in towards turn number 4. He sneaks up the inside of J. Cole. Not J. Cole, he's actually got J. Cole right in front of him. J. Cole could play the team game and maybe try and hold up the Haas driver to benefit his teammate. Of course, these are both full-time drivers, so they are pretty much obligated to help each other out if they do so desire, and I think that'd be good for team relations. But Antoine did not want to mess about, and he just wanted to get right on by, do his own thing. It seems like these two have actually been able to stretch a nice, tidy gap to HX4K behind them, so this is really going to be beneficial for these guys, I would say, in this race. I think the top 5 drivers, as they were previously, they're a lot more separated. That could encourage some more battling throughout the field, but I think this time by Antoine is Dylan Warren. His Wi-Fi issues do plague him quite often. I think we have lost him from this session, but he hopefully will be able to come back in. This will be the easiest move of Antoine's life. He's going to get by on one of the first lap runners, not lap runners, but just a bit of traffic. And actually, Dario trying to slip through as well, because Antoine was able to get that DRS. He's going to get it on this straight as well, meaning that Dario cannot go for the move as Dylan Warren's back in the session.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising at first glance why Dario did not fight this all too much and just almost waved Antoine through. Not fully, but just didn't even bother defending whatsoever. But it makes sense once you realize they have to pit again. And if they have to pit again, Dario can again try and pull an undercut on Antoine and jump him in the pit lane and then fight it out next time and defend and make sure that there is no overtake next time around and Dario keeps the position. So I think strategically from Dario, this is incredibly clever to let Antoine, not let Antoine by, but not fight it too much. Be like, okay, well, I lost the position, I lost the battle, but I may still win the war. That's what Dario has done here. He's put himself in a good position. One, he gets the DRS, so he can save ERS throughout the rest of the race. He can save some fuel as well. And he will have a lot to fight with come the end of the race.
Yeah, you can see he's not using up any of his overtake to really fight the car in front of him. And that is just because he's, yeah, as you said, really just playing this strategically. He's thinking about the bigger picture rather than fighting for the lead early on. And yeah, I think he'll want to save some of his overtake. We're not even at the halfway point. So realistically, there's no point in actually fighting for positions, because they might not end up that way if you screw yourself over. J. Cole just beginning to lose positions from cars behind him. He's lost to position to HX4K, and Liam Parnell wants him to get a move on. I think Liam's caught him at the worst position on the circuit, but there's a move looking like it is shaping up further up the order. This is actually for position. Neither of the drivers yet to come to the pits. It is Josh Idawu and Pablo Jogler. And maybe if Josh can get a good run through here, he can also be latching onto the back of OMG. It's Joe, but we'll see. Maybe if Josh wants to go for this move, he is certainly closing up to the rear of the Williams car, but he is actually not all that close. Maybe if he can, he's got a bit more speed coming down the straightaway. If he wants to, he could dive this if he so desires, maybe in towards turn number 1. Here comes Josh up the inside. He goes to the right hand side. They come close to contact, but they just avoid each other, trying to get him now on the switchback. He's all over the back of the Williams car now, pulling out the slipstream to go for the move down in towards turn number 4. Josh Idawu moving up into P4 at the moment. Pablo not going to fight this one back now. I think that is quite wise. Those hard tyres have really kicked into gear, and they're going to be a lot quicker than these mediums at the moment.
Yeah, I was looking at the speed difference between Josh Idawu and Pablo Jogler at the very end of the first straight, of the main straight, and it was 6 kilometers an hour. And I think for the most part that can be explained with slipstream, but I'm also pretty certain that either Josh Idawu was using some ERS earlier on in the straight, but that late, it doesn't have that much of an effect anymore. I think Josh Idawu might be running a lower downforce setup, and that helps him in a straight line. That helps him with overtaking, as we have Bryn now into the pit lane and Barry Burrowman in the pit lane. So Two of the front runners that haven't pitted yet are now in. What do? Bari onto soft, Bryn onto hard. So there we have it. Two completely different strategies here. As Josh Idaho goes for the lead of the race, on track at least for now, and he has it into turn one and can now pull away with some extra DRS. Oh my god, it's Joe also has DRS though, so he doesn't fall away too much there and doesn't fall into the clutches of Ruben Vallejo just yet.
Yeah, of course, those two, they were actually running behind Bryn, who did decide to pit. Speaking of Bryn, he's gone onto the hard tyres. Barry splitting his strategy. He'll be going onto a two-stop. They can't make it to the end, so Bryn, he's in for the long haul at the moment. I'd assume that all these guys who are out on circuit at the moment, still on those medium tyres, they're probably going to try and opt for a two-stop strategy. They'll run about 10 laps apiece on a set of softs, I would say, which is certainly doable. As Connor retires in the pit lane, his race was doomed from the start. He got damaged pretty early on, and that makes it 3 retirements. I do actually think we can class Andy as a retirement because he didn't retire. He just left the session. He's not rejoined, but now coming into the pit lane is OMG. It's Joe, as is probably Pablo Jogna. No, he's decided to stay out. Interestingly enough, I know that Joe had Ruben Vallejo right on his rear, so he was really feeling the pressure, I'd say, and he just wanted to get away from the driver. But here comes HX4K on the back of Kersey. They are catching this traffic pretty nicely, as we actually have a battle for a real position here, because Felipe right onto the back of Liam. I think all this traffic has made him lose a whole chunk of time, because this Mercedes car was not close to him before.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm looking for Dario and Antoine here. They're still running normally as they did this whole time. Dario not really trying to get much of a move on against the Haas. He's just along for the ride for now. We're not even halfway into this race. I told you earlier, this is going to be one of the longest races, the longest race on a permanent circuit, because it is the lowest average speed of any permanent circuit on the F1 calendar. So you're in for a long one here. Expect this race to last just about 50 minutes from beginning to end. And yeah, Dario is still playing it very, very patiently. And if there's one thing a lot of racing drivers tend to not have, it's patience. But it is, even in racing, a virtue. And it can help you so much in the long run, as Bari goes for the fastest lap here on these new softs. Not surprising. We know how fast he is. There's a reason his nickname is Speed Bari, and he proves it here as well with those fresh softs immediately into the low 1 minute 15s.
Yeah, meanwhile, we do have a battle on the move at the moment. Felipe still closing up to the back of Liam, really putting the pressure onto the Racing Point car. He can't get him this time by on the DRS straight, and I think that's probably because he doesn't want to lose DRS. I think when they want to come into the pits, then that is certainly the time to make the move. So he's probably going to stick him for about maybe 7 or so laps. I think at 26 is probably when we'll start to see some drivers coming into the pit lane. I really am worried for Jari Fitz, who did lose the position to Barry last time around about this point, and now he's 2.5 seconds back, so it's not going to be working out for him. But Barry right onto the back of Felipe, and this is just the power of his strategy. These guys will be on a set of softs later on in the race, and so will Barry, so he doesn't have to worry about anything, but he's going to slip right up the inside of Felipe before the DRS even comes, and he maybe could try and pit Liam if he so desires. Coming in towards the first corner, you can see he's right up to the rear of Liam, as Felipe is also trying to stick it in with him, and he's not close enough this time by, but possibly in towards turn number 4. They're coming through turn 2, and now turn 3, easy place to pick up warnings, as neither of these drivers have a penalty. But now coming down onto the straightaway, Liam Parnell doesn't seem like he wants to fight it too hard. Barry gonna pull the left hand side up the inside and towards turn number 4. He gets that position. It's P6 for the McLaren driver, starting right down the back of the order.
If you know that the other driver is on a different strategy, you're not fighting it too much. You know this race will come back around towards you. That's what Liam Parnell has been doing here. He's not fighting this. He just wants some DRS, at least for this one straight, as he gets a massive twitch on that on the exit of turn 11. almost loses the car, but he does get that DRS down the back straight. Will he get it again here in the stadium section? That is the question. He might not. Oh, it's going to be close. I think he will not have it. It's just over a second. We'll see. However, what is the... Nope, there's no indication on the graphics, so no DRS for Liam Parnell. That allows an opportunity maybe for Felipe Sosa. He's a bit far away on the first straight here, but once he gets to the second, there might be an opportunity. And Liam is running into the orange. When it comes to his ERS, he's under 10% at times. So if Felipe Sosa fancies a move here, a little bit of ERS supply being used, he doesn't do that. So he's just along and doesn't try to go for a move here. He's just content staying in P8 for now. A bit surprising because Liam, with that ERS struggle, I would say, I think he might make for an easy target.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to bide his time, play a bit more of a passive role, and just hang in with Liam for the time being, not use up too much of his resources, and then he can really attack him towards the end of the race. As lap 19 at the moment, they're about to begin lap 20. Those hard tyres on board with Josh Idowu and Ruben Vallejo, they're going to be wearing out, and as I say that, they're pulling into the pit lane as all. Ruben getting very close to the rear of Josh. He might have actually wanted to try for the move, but both these guys pulling in for the medium tyres. That pretty much confirms the one-stop strategy. They won't have to make another pit stop, but they will be quite a bit slower than their compatriots later on in the races. There's Barry getting the move on HX4K. That is P3 for him at the moment. No more net positions. This is a P3 on circuit, and he's just got to hold out a little bit longer until it is the right time for him to come into the pit lane. In all of that calamity, Felipe did manage to get past Liam Parnell, and I think my game is frozen again. Oh, we should be okay. I don't know what happened there. That was really scary, actually. Everything just completely froze for like half a second, and then it just came back.
Oh, thank goodness. We've had enough technical difficulties already today. We don't need any more. So let's hope it goes smoothly to the end here, as Barry is getting so much closer and so much faster than anyone else on track, really. He is flying right now, and he is challenging the top two here. But it will all come back against him once he... Or, hold on, does he have to... Give me a second. He started on the mediums, didn't he? Yeah. No, he can use the softs at the end as well, just like everyone else. So he's really flying right now, and he has a chance to win this.
Yeah, and I think Dario knows that, and he's going to go for the move on Antoine Desaluski coming in towards turn number 1. He doesn't want to be fighting Barry at this point. He's maybe going to try and bridge a gap just between the pair of them and see if he can get away and maybe just allow for Barry to put the pressure on to the Frenchman, as he's a little bit too far back to assault the Haas car this time by. But yeah, he's just going to hang back for the time being at this point, and we will see if he is going to be close enough at some point later on in the lap. Josh Idowu on his one-stop strategy, he's found himself now in the top 10, and he's catching up to Pablo Jogler and OMG It's Joe very soon. He's got about 6 seconds between them. Of course, those guys do have to pit again. They won't make it to the end on the set of the tyres that they are on, so it's going to be a very difficult run to the end for those guys. But Barry is now about 2.5 tenths back from Antoine, and possibly making a move on Dario if he can get them both in towards turn number 1 and turn number 3. This could be really the turning point of the Grand Prix. Barry through the final corner. He's got these two locked on. He got him in his crosshairs, and before the DRS even comes, he wants to go for the move on Antoine. P2 for the Iranian driver. Now coming down the straightaway at about 330 kilometers per hour almost. He's going to be too far back for the move on Dario and towards turn number 1, but turn 4, this might be a bit of a slaughter from him. He smells blood in the water coming now, opening up the DRS to charge at the Italian driver down the straightaway into the DRS, as he's just so close. He's hang back. He's not going for the lead.
Yeah, not yet. He was a little bit too far away. He did not use any ERS at the start of the second straight, and so he wasn't close enough when it came to the end of the straight. I think he realized a little bit too late that he just made a mistake, that he could have gone for the move if he had just used a little bit more of his ERS battery power, but he decided against that, And so now he has to bide his time a little bit more. I think he will do that on the main straight. He wants the DRS probably for both straights. Maybe it was a strategic decision to not go for it, to get DRS both times and not only make the overtake happen here on the first straight, but also then be able to pull away on the second straight. And here we go. He uses the overtake button right now, and he will pull along before the DRS even opens. Now it does, and at this point, he is gone.
Yeah, he was just playing with his food a little bit there. I think Dario's trying to fight this one back, but no, it's not going to be enough. I've just noticed I've not actually been getting any notifications at the bottom of the screen, but we'll just quickly run through some of the penalties. You can see them on the screen. The biggest loser in this race is going to be Ruben Vallejo. 15 seconds worth of time penalties. That will be helping him out whatsoever, but as we did say before, penalties are going to be vital. And I think someone who's just picked one up is Dario. So Barry Borman, without a penalty, I think his chances are pretty good for taking the win here.
Yeah, he's in the lead. He's the fastest car on track right now, and he gets to use the soft tires all over again in the final stint. So I really don't see how he loses this one. The only cars that can challenge him are Josh Ardewu and Ruben Vallejo. Ruben, 15 seconds of penalties. I think that ship has sailed. Josh Ardewu, 3 seconds. So for now, yes, it looks good for Josh Ardewu, but these drivers still have to pit, and Bari will re-emerge as there's a massive slide for Dario. Oh my goodness, through the final corner, and that should open the opportunity for Antoine to get the place. What I was trying to say as the move happens right here is that Bari will re-emerge behind Josh Ardewu by about 5 seconds, but these fresh soft tires that he will have on then should make it very easy to just fly past the McLaren driver, his teammate really as well, and it should make for an easy victory ultimately for Bari. The only one who can beat the Iranian is himself.
Yep, he still has to navigate a couple more, well, I say a couple more, quite a few more laps left in this Grand Prix, and he's just got to keep his wits about him and not pick up that penalty. If he picks up a penalty, that could be the unraveling of his Grand Prix. If he makes a couple mistakes, you know, even though just by looking at some of his laps, he may not seem human, but he most certainly is, and he does make mistakes like the rest of us. But at the moment, he's just good at not making them. So fair play to him, credit where credit is due. I think he's going to start to think about his pit stop in the next couple of laps. He's not going to come in this time by. I said lap 10 is the split down, not lap 10, lap 26, when they've done 10 laps already on the set. So they'll have 10 more to go. So I think it's going to be the split down the middle for him. So he'll probably come in at the end of lap 26 for him there. But yeah, not too much going on circuit at the moment. I'm just trying to find if there is any battle. I think Liam actually did find a way past Felipe on the last lap. We didn't quite catch it, but he's 5 tenths ahead of him, so he's doing a pretty good job of stretching the gap. And Liam, one of the only drivers, one of 3 drivers without a penalty in this race.
Yeah, and it's going to help him in the final results here for sure. Staying penalty free is massively crucial. Or if you can't do that, at least get as few penalties as possible. As I'm looking at Bryn right here, and he's putting Kersey under a lot of pressure. Doesn't find a way past just yet, but I think it's only a matter of time between these two. It's not for points, P11 right now, so the golden pineapple really that they're fighting over here. But for now, that is what it is, but it can all change. However, looking at the penalties they have, Bryn 11 seconds, Kersey 12 seconds. Yeah, I think they're more likely to fall back any further than they are to gain some positions off of penalties.
Yeah, I actually think there's crazy stuff going on at the moment. It's not showing who's in the pits. Pitting. Yeah, they all are in on lap 26. I don't know why it wasn't showing up that they were in the pits, but Barry has pulled out the pit lane. Need soft tyres on for him. Where are they going to come out? They're just behind the battle we were looking at as Bryn sailing on by. Barry's not going to be liking that there is traffic in his way. These guys likely not to pit. Actually, I think Kersey will have to pit in this race, but Bryn most certainly doesn't. If he can keep Barry behind him, Barry's not going to have DRS this time by. He might not even need it down the straightaway without DRS. He's just got the pace on Kersey. And, granted, Kersey didn't have DRS either, but still, what an exit on those fresh, soft tyres. And he will make quick work of Bryn. I don't think Bryn's going to be too happy about this. He's trying for it in towards turn number 6. He just backed off at the last moment because it was quite clear that that door was never, ever going to open. But, yeah, down the DRS straight, you'd expect him to absolutely breeze on by Bryn. I don't think Bryn will want to fight it too hard here. As Bryn, yeah, he's not gonna use any of his ERS. He's just gonna let him on by, and Barry into P5. Now the hunt begins for the drivers in front of him. 6.5 seconds ahead is Ruben Vallejo, and then a further 5/10 to Josh Idaho, his teammate, who now takes the lead because Pablo Jogler and OMG It's Joe pull into the pit lane.
Yeah, and these are probably the final pit stops that we get to see here from any of the drivers. I think from this point onwards, it is a straight dash to the finish line. Can Barry gain those 6.5 seconds? His tires right now per lap should be... Let me actually look at the sector times he did on the out lap, just to give you an idea. Second and third sector. We are talking about... Give me a second here. Only half a second, surprisingly, between Barry and Ruben Vallejo. So I'm a bit surprised at that. But yeah, the first sector seems to be where he gains a lot. He's gained 1 second in the first sector alone on Ruben Vallejo here on this lap. And now add that together, you get about 1.5 seconds. But he also has a penalty now, just like everyone else. So we're down to just 2 drivers with no penalties, Dylan Warren and Liam Buddell, both Racing Point drivers. So they got the team instructions very clearly, do not get a penalty, and they are following suit. And it will help them come the final results.
Yeah, of course, this is not going to be helping out Barry, because that means he has to make a move on his teammate. Ruben has 18 seconds of penalty, so I don't think it's really going to be an issue for Barry to take that position, but it is looking like a likely 1-2 for the McLaren outfit from starting right down the order, as Pablo Jogler and Yari fighting it out at the moment. Seems like Pablo and actually OMG It's Joe gets a position as well on those fresh soft tyres. If you're not on the fresh set of softs, but you're going to be at the mercy of the drivers around you, as drivers have already taken a hit in their positions. Bryn has lost about 3 places since these guys came into the pits. Yari has also lost quite a few as well, so it really just was not the good strategy to do the one stop, I think, if you went onto the hards later on in the Grand Prix. But if you're on the mediums now, it's looking pretty decent, because you're not going to be too much slower than the soft runners, but you are still going to be at a stark disadvantage. 3.0 seconds is the gap between Barry and Ruben at the moment. They're coming by to start 8 laps to go in this Grand Prix, so I think, just given his pace already, Barry is going to be right up the rear of these guys.
I'm telling you what, though, Ruben Vallejo is now on 24 seconds of penalties. We might see him get disqualified based on the amount of penalties he is getting. I think once we get to 30, as he goes for the move for the lead of the race right here, lap 29 just started, and Ruben Vallejo up into the lead. But yeah, Barry, I just looked at the data from lap 27, so not the lap they just finished, but the one before that. And Barry was 1.7 seconds faster than Josh and 1.9 seconds faster than Ruben. So he's gaining almost 2 seconds a lap. At this point, it is almost a foregone conclusion that Barry will get both of them, and not just him. I mean, Antoine is probably going to get there as well. Dario might end up there. HX4K might... Oh, as Ruben is now on 27 seconds. He's really playing with fire here.
Yeah, he's dancing on a knife's edge. I think Jeff is going to be shouting at him down the radio to keep it on track. And if he gets probably one more warning, I'd say that is going to be game over for him there. And not one more warning, but one more penalty, and it will be game over. Barry, the gap between himself and his teammate is 1.2 seconds. It's almost looking like it's guaranteed to be Barry taking the win of this race. So it's going to be more important, really, to look at the battles for second and third, respectively. I think Josh Idle is going to be in the hot seat to try and defend that position. He's right on the back of Ruben Vallejo this time by, but he's not close enough to make a move. I don't know if he really wants to fight the Alpha Tauri driver, who's really struggling at the moment. 20 seconds of penalties, but now coming down in towards turn number 4. If he wants to go for this end, he might as well. No, he's going to hang back, which is probably costing him quite a bit of time, actually, to his teammate Barry. I don't think Josh is really going to fight with his teammate here. I think he's going to let him go on his merry way, and this is really the dominance that we were expecting from McLaren. Right at the sharp end of the grid, from right down at the rear of the order. All the top 3 drivers actually up 16 places from where they started, so all these guys have to be very proud of their race. But now Barry has DRS on the drivers in front of him, and you'd expect him through the stadium section to not try and go for any rash dive bomb, but certainly go for the move in towards turn number 1. Coming through the final sector now, turn 17, they approach to open up the steering. Barry Bormann, here he is, he's 0.2 of a second off of his teammate. Josh is going to defend ever so slightly. Ruben pulling off to the right hand side. Here comes Barry down the straightaway. He's going to take 1 position off the drivers in front. What about Ruben? Can he go for it in towards turn number 1? You can see he's fighting him hard, but Barry just not able to get by this time. But what about down in towards turn number 4? It is surely signed, sealed, and deliver for Barry Bormann. Coming down the straightaway, Lamb to the slaughter. Ruben Vallejo defends to the inside line. Barry's got to go the long way around if he wants to make this move stick. Ruben fighting with all his might, like he's got no penalties to his name, but he's got 27 seconds. Right round the outside goes Barry Bormann, coming through in towards turn number 7. He gets squeezed off, but now in towards turn number 8. He gets the position, and that is the lead from last on the grid for Barry Bormann.
It's a fantastic move. I mean, he was so well aware that he had so much more grip that he could just hold it round the outside through turn 6 and then got squeezed off on the exit and still held his line and made sure that he got that position. That was a fantastic overtake from Barry. And now Ruben Vallejo, what's going on there?
Oh dear.
He's disqualified. He is disqualified. Ruben Vallejo out of the race.
Ruben. 30 seconds of penalties. That is when I think when you get 30 seconds of penalties, it's like that really drunk guy at a bar and the bartender decide, nah mate, you're done. And well, now it's 18th and 19th for AlphaTauri, and I certainly think after this one they're not going to be leading the championship. I think that's going to go the way of McLaren. They're 1 and 2 at the moment, but that doesn't mean it is surefire towards the end, because Antoine is about to get DRS on Josh Idawu. 5 laps on the soft tyres is going to be a lot quicker than 11 laps on the mediums.
Yeah, it should be. And for McLaren, it took him 1 week to really get it hot. First race didn't really go their way. Josh Idawu losing out on some positions there on penalties. And of course, Barry wasn't even there. It was VRT Duza who got 1 point for them, 10th place. But now, this is the kind of dominance we've been expecting from those two. This is the kind of dominance we've been expecting from McLaren. They're showing who is boss here. And they still have 4 laps to go, but I can't see anyone challenging them here. Maybe Antoine de Zalewski might get a 2nd place here. He is on those faster tires. Dario might get that too, but he's in a battle with HX4K right now. And that might actually hurt both of them and still get Josh Idawu a podium, as here goes HX4K into turn 1 and holds the position and will have the DRS to now pull away a little bit further, as everyone is now a little bit strapped for energy with the exception of one man, and really, well, in the top 6 at least, with the exception of one man, and that is our leader, Barry Bormann. He's still got 40% of battery charge at the ready, and I think he will use it to try and go for the fastest lap of the race. He is only 0.2 away from that. Kersey in P12 currently holds that with a 1 minute 14.6. Barry is at a 1 minute 14.8, so very, very close there, and certainly achievable for the McLaren driver. Is he giving Josh some DRS?
He absolutely is. Brilliant team play. He was a second slower through the second sector split than his previous lap, and you wouldn't expect him to be doing that, so it's exactly his game plan to give the DRS to his teammate Josh. Really smart from the Crown Boys, giving each other that bit of team play, and you can see Antoine, what normally would be a really easy move if it was someone without DRS, it is now going to be a lot more challenging for him. Both these guys level on the amount of penalties that they have. I say that, Antoine actually has 6 seconds, so he probably just doesn't want to let him by to maybe just have all the glory on the track. Of course, there is a possibility that penalties can get removed at the end, so you don't really want to count on anything.
That is for certain. You don't want to lose a 1-2 at the green table, so it's certainly in the interest of McLaren here to hold that 1-2 on track as well, just in case one of those penalties does get removed. It's very unlikely, we don't see it very often, that drivers lose a 3-second penalty, as the game tends to be correct most of the time. I would say about 90% of the time, but there's always an incident or two, but usually it doesn't matter all too much. But he is so smart from both McLaren drivers, especially Barry, to have the awareness to not just drive off into the distance, but keep Josh within a second behind him. It reminds me of the McLaren radio. Was it the McLaren radio call? I think it was, yeah. The McLaren radio call to Lando Norris at Austria, where he responded, "You mean like forever?" Really, until the end of the race here is what Barry is doing. Holding Josh in that 1 second window behind so he gets the DRS. This is really the simulation of what happened in the real world, and it works out perfectly right now for the McLaren boys. And the wonderful thing about it is completely legal and perfectly fine, and they are absolutely allowed to do this.
Yeah, of course, in other leagues, like I'm just going to use this as an example, PSGL, they don't allow for team playing qualifying, but when it comes to the race, you can go no holds barred really, and they're putting that on display today through the final sector. It might look like this is going to be the set in stone order at the moment. I don't think Antoine is going to be able to extend 3 seconds on Josh if he does get by, and I think Barry knows that. He's probably going to go for the fastest lap here. He's got everything ready to go for here. I think Josh doesn't have DRS, so Antoine going to be coming at him down the straightaway for the final time in towards turn number 1. He's a lot further back than he would have liked to, so I think turn number 4 is going to be his best option to go for the move. Barry is certainly going for the fastest lap, but I don't think I'll actually be able to see it because, well, I've not been getting notifications at the bottom of my screen. Not been able to get through as Antoine coming through in towards turn number 4. We got this brilliant helicopter camera shot. This could be his last opportunity to really put a fight to Josh Idawu. And you know what? I think he just wants to bring it home. I don't think he wants to risk anything and pick up another penalty and potentially lose out to HX4K. And he is actually going to lose out to HX4K because he's got 3 seconds of time penalties, whereas Antoine has 6 seconds, and the gap is 3. So he'll be a second ahead by the end.
That's what it seems like right now. However, we still got a sector and a half to drive, and Barry will not get the fastest lap. He is 0.6 of a second down after 2 sectors. The first sector looked promising, second sector not so much, but ultimately I don't think he will care as McLaren scores a 1-2. Barry Bowman comes across the line to take the victory here at the Mexican Grand Prix, and Josh Idawu, his teammate, takes second place.
Unbelievable stuff from the pair of them. 18 positions gained for Barry Bowman, 16 positions gained for Josh Idawu. Domination at the Mexican Grand Prix for McLaren. It's a 1-2 locked out for the pair of them. The fastest lap at that point goes to Kersey, and Kersey was not inside the top 10, so therefore no extra point added. The rest of the order as follows is HX4K, Antoine Desalewski, Liam Parnell, Dario, I can't say his surname, I am very sorry, Pablo Jogler, OMG HO, Felipe Sousa, and MNT Bryn picking up P10 in the end. He had quite a lot of penalties as well. But I won't show any bias here, but being a driver that I do work with very closely, of course, part of the same esports organisation, I got to say I'm quite proud of him for that one. So really well done. The rest of the finishers go like this. We'll actually catch up with that in just a moment. Driver of the day, once that pops up, I think it is going to be expected as to who it is. Of course, it is the man, the myth, Brendan Lee, as we can see him, but it is Barry Borman picking up driver of the day. Brilliant performance from him. I'm really hoping we can get him into the commentary box and potentially have him for an interview. The rest of the finishers look like this: Yari, Kazi, J. Cole, and that is actually the last of the drivers that properly finished. 2 drivers disconnected. They left the lobby. I think Delamore was having internet issues, and Andy left pretty early on in the Grand Prix. He takes up 15th. Then a couple of DNFs in this race: SRT Connor, Shazoo Julian, and Nicholas Mateo, our last week race winner. He is out in 19th. I don't know why Ruben is being shown as 16th, but he was disqualified for too many penalties.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting that he is still being shown as 16th and only a DNF and not a DSQ there. But ultimately, it won't matter at all. What a race and what a run from both McLaren drivers there. Lost the first challenge, achievement unlocked, I think, for Barry Borman here. Yeah, just remarkable drive from both of them. It's exactly what I talked about earlier. You start last, you have the free tire choice, you have no pressure. All of a sudden, you try some moves, you try something you haven't maybe, or you didn't want to try if you start inside the top 10, and you're going for something different. And in this case, it paid off perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I'm just quickly putting into the RL PC chat if on Twitter if any of these guys wanted to come in for an interview, and hopefully we can get a couple of them in. I've just added them now, but I guess I'm just quickly gonna look at the calendar so we can see where we are headed to next, if I can find it. That is a lot of this German chat. I can't really read it.
You could just ask me, you know.
Oh, you know what, Austin, where are we headed to next week?
Yeah, we are headed to the Bahrain short circuit, but not next week. Next week, we're actually going to have a little bit of a break. It's going to be May 4th that we are going to be back. So 1 week break, and then on May 4th, Bahrain short. And I think that will be a 100% race, but of course, because it is a much shorter track, we will ultimately still have a rather normal race. It's going to be, I think, 58 laps, if I'm not mistaken. How many were there in the actual Bahrain Grand Prix this year? 57, there you go. Not 58, 57 laps on this short track. And I'm very excited for that one. I personally, I know a lot of drivers do not like the Bahrain short track. I do, although I would still rather have the Sakhir track, the quote-unquote oval. But nonetheless, I think this one is a pretty good one as well. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, it is very good for the racing, and it is also going to be very close on pace. And I'm just looking in the waiting room on Discord, and it's lovely to see all 3 drivers in the waiting room. So we will. I'll move over Barry here, and I'll bring all the other drivers over. But I think we do have to start with our race winner. Barry, what a race you had there today. Just talk us through the strategy, really.
First of all, hello to everyone watching and you. And should say, yeah, to be fair, like as I think everyone knows, in this game, it seems the alternative strategy looks really good. So yeah, me and Josh was speaking on the Discord in quali, and then we decided to do a medium lap because we really don't want it to be on top 10 by any chance. And yeah, and like the plan wasn't really go there. We just get P19 and P18, so you should say last. But yeah, like the race was really clean. I really make it like I really in the first few corners I really take it so clean to not really lose any front wing, any damage. And then the whole race, I should say, I managed it really well. And then yeah, victory. And again, in the stream, I should say sorry to Antoine because of the teaming and stuff.
Yeah, I'd actually just like to quickly go on to that one. Who made the call to do the team play? Was it you offering to give Josh the slipstream, or sorry, the DRS? Or was it Josh asking for that one of you?
Josh, who was that?
It was you.
Oh my god. To be fair, because as I said in the PSGO, as I seen in the PSGO, because like they will start do these things for sure. So I want to only practice these things because you cannot practice these things alone, So you have to be in the race situation. So I just decided to did these to really use this technique if we gonna do it in the PSL as well. But I should say this: it's not nice, and at least me not gonna do it anymore. To the driver who hasn't got any teammate over there.
Yeah, it was quite the unfortunate situation for Antoine there, but I'm going to pass you on to Austin if he has any questions. Then fire away.
I just want to know, why did you decide to still go for the same strategy, except you started on the mediums, but still the two-stop when you started in P18 and P19? Like, you were so far down. It was just interesting to see how you worked through the field, but why the two-stop over the one-stop? And what was it like to overtake that many drivers?
To be fair, it was a great experience, you'd say, because in any fighting, in my opinion, you will learn something. So, and it was a great experience to see how is the dirtier effect. So for me, it was a great experience, and GG to everyone.
All right.
Yep. So really well done for the win today. But I think we'll let you go for your celebrations, and we'll move on to the P2 driver himself, Josh Idawu, coming off of a pretty average result for your standards in USA. Of course, the penalty dropping you down. But how are you feeling really after this one? And do you think you've redeemed yourself a little?
Yeah, I think considering the strategy I was on, we decided to just test different strategies. So Barry was going to do the two-stop, and I just wanted to test the hard tires out. We had a feeling that the two-stop was probably quicker, but I just went for it anyway. And I decided to start on the hards instead of the mediums because I hadn't really seen someone do that before. And yeah, it could have gone a bit better. I lost DRS at some point, battling, getting through the train. But yeah, I think everyone could tell clearly. Barry caught me and Ruben, I think on lap 30 out of 36. And if it wasn't for him, sticking in the DRS for me to stay ahead of Antoine, he could have been, 6, 7, maybe even 10 plus seconds up the road, because he had that much pace on them softs. So yeah, not the right strategy, but we've tried it, we've tested it, and at least I know what to do now. Moving forward.
Yeah, of course. Moving forward, PSGL is on Thursday for the Mexican Grand Prix as well, and based off this result in RL, does that really give you the confidence to fight for the win on Thursday?
Yeah, I've got some valuable race practice in, which I don't normally get good race practice in. So yeah, I'm confident for PSGL. Probably going for the alternate strategy on that two-stop like Barry did today. And I think it's going to be a really interesting one. So yeah, GG to the boys on the podium. That's me done.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one there. As Austin, if you have any questions for Josh, just hit him now.
Good question. Yeah, I would like to know from you as well. I mean, you made your way through the field as well, and you went onto the exact opposite strategy. Was that something that you two both decided that it's probably better if we split it up in some way so that at least one comes out maybe on top or gets a really good result, or was that something you individually both decided without talking to each other?
No, we decided together that we should both go for something different. If we would go into the same strategy, I think we still could have got that 1-2. If we both went on the two-stop, I think we could have done it. But we just wanted to test something different, just so we know, because I didn't really know how good the hards were. But now I do know, and we know that in that type of race, it's definitely the better idea to go for the 2 stops. So yeah, it was just kind of just crossing, going down different paths, make sure we've covered everything so we know what to do for other Mexico races.
All right, and comparing to how you approached the whole strategy decision, compared to that moment where you decide, okay, we'll do something different with each driver, and looking at it now, how surprised are you that you guys got a 1-2?
Well, I knew that the 1 stop onto hards was a decent strategy, but I didn't think. I thought, the people starting P11, P12, P13 on their medium tires, I thought they would be ahead of me. Barry was last and he won the race, so the people in P11, P12, they could have definitely been in the fight as well. But I'm not sure what happened to all them guys. I know some people got damaged and stuff like that. But yeah, I am a bit surprised to be in P2 on that strategy. I think I just got a bit lucky there. I'm not sure what happened to the guys, in P11 and 12, but they didn't really seem to be up there. It was more the people who started on the softs, like John and Antoine, that were at the end when I thought it would be the guys in P11, P12. So I'm not sure what happened to them, but yeah, I am surprised to be in P2. I think I should be a little bit further down than that.
All right.
Yeah, so really well done for the race again. But I think we'll move on to our 3rd place driver, HX4K. I think we're just going to go with John for the time being on stream. But we didn't see all that much of you in this race. So I guess just talk us through how your performance went today.
My first stint was awful. I could barely drive in a straight line. And then second stint, I got held in the pits for 5 seconds. So that my second stint pretty much just turned into a recovery, trying to get closer to Antoine and Dario. And I managed to get it to like 2 seconds, which so I drove really well. And then my soft stint, for some reason, I was so quick on the softs, I was able to catch up to Dario. And then Barry giving Josh DRS, Antoine couldn't get past, so I could quite easily stay in 3 seconds of Antoine and then get P3. My race was kind of boring, to be honest. I didn't barely overtook anyone. I was just kind of driving to catch up.
Yeah, of course. Now with this podium, does it kind of give you more confidence coming into the rest of the season? Of course, you didn't finish from pole position in USA, but now that the podium is sort of out of the way, do you really feel that in the next coming races you could be challenging for race wins?
Well, if Josh and Barry keep going for alternate strategies, then yeah, I think I got a good chance. But I actually finished a race for once, which is a bonus. But yeah, I'll see. I'm not expecting to be in race wins, but I definitely want to be challenging for podiums and top 5 for the rest of the season and get my consistency down.
Yeah, well, I'm really rooting for you in the rest of this one. But Austin, if you have any questions, once again, fire away.
The only thing I can remember, because we didn't see you that much throughout the whole race, so I don't have any question regarding the race. I'm just interested. In 2 weeks' time, we get to Bahrain Short. That's going to be the next race. Are you looking forward to that track? Is that a track you would you see yourself enjoying, or do you say, yeah, miss me with that one?
I've never done the track on this game, but it sounds awful. So no, I'm not. I'm not looking forward to it.
Okay. That makes your feelings very clear, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
Well, if that is all for today, I think we've got to end it here. So join us in 2 weeks' time for the Bahrain Short Grand Prix. It's certainly going to be an interesting one. I do remember in PSGL F1 on the PS4, that was a crazy race right till the end. So we'll just have to see if RLPC Global Tier, they really do, if they can pull that one back. But from me and Austin, it's been a pleasure to be your commentators for tonight. We do apologise for the technical difficulties early on, but that is the end of the Grand Prix, and we will see you all very soon. So goodbye.